Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your full name and provide your date of birth?
Good afternoon. Ruben Silva. Ruben Ariel Silva, Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Silva. Mr. Silva, you are here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegation, one count of burglary in the second degree. That is a Class 3 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference October 18th, 8:31 a.m. Preliminary hearing October 22nd, 8:31 a.m. That will be at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Silva, I am setting bond in the amount of $2,500. It is a secured appearance bond. You can pay that directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral. 10% of $2,500 would be $250. If you pay your bond, you will be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You're promising to comply with pretrial services supervision and with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to return to the scene of the alleged crime. You're not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims. You're not to possess any weapons, and you must obey the terms of any order of protection or injunction against harassment that has been issued or which may be issued. Mr. Silva, do you have any questions?
Yes. I don't understand the charge on this because I only entered a home. It was a vacant home. I entered and I didn't take anything. The owner knows that. I know the owner. He knows me. He's a kind of a prick, the owner, but I didn't take anything from the home. All I did was enter the home, went in the bathroom, came out, left, and went to the back. I didn't take anything. I don't understand the charge, burglary. I don't know why this is. I'm not understanding this.
Okay. Well, briefly, let me just explain the charge.
I haven't taken anything from the home.
Well, it's not, yeah, but it's not about that. It's entering or remaining unlawfully in a residential structure. So, I mean, so the issue is, Mr. Silva, you knew you weren't supposed to be there. There's, paper, you signed a document saying that you would move out of the house by August 31st.
I did move out of the house. Me and my girlfriend were staying in that home, and since then we got another home, and me and my girlfriend split. So she went off, and I stayed on the streets, and I haven't been trying to go over there. There was a guy that was staying there before. There was a guy that was staying there. His name is Alejandro. He was staying there in the home. And just recently, like a week ago, I don't know what happened to him. He took off, but he would let me go in there and shower and stuff, because he's my mom's boyfriend, the guy that used to stay there.
Well, I mean, Mr. Silva, so your statements aren't making any sense. I mean, because you talked about the owner and the owner being a derogatory word, and then that you had an issue with the owner. Now you're saying that you were allowed to be there. So the thing is,
the owner is the owner of the house. He rents out each room of the house to different people. I was renting the master bedroom in the home for a while until September, when me and him had an issue, so he wanted us to move out. That's when we signed the paperwork for me to leave on the 31st of August. And the guy Alejandro, he's a guy, he still stays there. He's the one that used to fix up the house and stuff. That's my mom's boyfriend. He's been staying there for a while. When I left, he was still there, and he would tell me to come and go shower and stuff like that. And I would go over there and shower and do my hygiene and leave. That's all I went over there. I literally went over there this morning because I needed the restroom. I went in there, used the restroom, and I left the home. The home was open. I didn't enter. I didn't break and enter. I didn't take anything. I haven't taken anything from that home at all. I mean, I don't understand why it's burglary.
So, Mr. Silva, when the police stopped you, what they said here is that you made multiple utterances that you knew you weren't supposed to be on the property. So now you're acting like it was fine for you to be on the property, and that's the issue, right?
It probably wasn't fine. Now, yes, of course, because nobody's there in the home. But the guy that was staying there, I didn't know he was gone yet. until like 3 days ago, where I went over there and I knocked and he didn't answer. I left, I came back, I knocked again, he didn't answer. I mean, I went through the back of there. There was a trailer that he has in the back too, that's all hooked up also. I usually used to go in there, but the trailer's moved. So I checked the house was open.
Okay, so Mr. Silva,
I didn't take
it. No, Mr. Silva, hold on. You're making excuses that you know aren't, no, wait, sir, wait, please don't interrupt me. You're making excuses you know aren't good excuses, okay? You're trying to talk yourself out of this, but you told the police this. It wasn't okay for you to be there. You knew you weren't supposed to be there, and you trying to explain how it was okay doesn't, in fact, it only makes the situation worse, Mr. Silva. If you came in and you said, hey, I know I wasn't supposed to be there, it was a big mistake, please don't do this, I maybe would be a little more sympathetic. But you trying to explain it as if it's okay, I'm not okay with that, Mr. Silva. So I am keeping the bond in place. I'm not going to discuss this with you any further. Please step to your left. Thank you, Mr. Silva.
I just don't want...
Evangeline Mora and then Ty Gibson will be on deck. Good afternoon, ma'am. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Good afternoon. It's Evangeline Mora.
Thank you, Ms. Mora. Ms. Mora, you are here on a Superior Court failure to appear warrant. You have a status conference October 18th, 8:31 a.m., preliminary hearing October 22nd, 8:31 a.m. That's at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. I am setting a cash-only bond, the amount of $1,200. You have a $300 bond in your Surprise Municipal Court case. So total bond is $1,500. The Surprise one is secured appearance, which technically means you can work with a bail bonding company. However, that amount's so low, I don't think any will work with that number. Although the combined amount, you can talk to a bail bonding company or another financial institution. I don't know what their terms would be, though.
Is it separate per
They're
city?
Separate.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's $1,500. I mean, they would pay it at the same place, but at any rate, it's $1,500. If you pay your bond, you are promising to go to court on all of your court dates.
Absolutely.
You will have an electronic ankle monitor installed, and you must comply with supervision. You also must comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to possess or consume any alcohol. You must submit to fingerprinting at the arresting police department.
Yes.
Then, Ms. Mora, you have a surprise warrant. This is also for DUI. I've appointed you an attorney for limited representation regarding the bond issue only. You have an arraignment hearing October 22nd, 1:30 p.m. at the Surprise Municipal Courthouse. Again, bond the amount of $300, same conditions and restrictions of release. Ms. Mora, do you have any questions?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
Right. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ty Gibson and then Robert Moreno will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Yes, Ty Gibson.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Mr. Gibson, you're here on a Peoria Municipal Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegations: 1 count of disorderly conduct, fighting, a Class 1 misdemeanor; 1 count of criminal damage, a Class 1 misdemeanor. I have appointed you an attorney for limited representation regarding the bond issue only. You have an arraignment hearing at the Peoria Municipal Courthouse, October 15th, 9 a.m. Mr. Gibson, I am setting bond the amount of $1,000. That is a secured appearance bond. That means you can pay that directly or work with a bail bonding company. They generally require 10% plus collateral. 10% of $1,000 would be $100. If you pay your bond, you will be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates, and you're promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you are not to return to the scene of the alleged crime. You're not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims. You're not to possess any weapons. You must find an alternative residence, provide proof of the same to the court, and you must obey the terms of any order of protection or injunction against harassment that has been issued or which may be issued. You may have no contact with any alleged victims for any reason, even if they contact you first, and you may not reside at the same location as an alleged victim, even if you are an owner or renter of the residence. You are entitled to 1 civil standby with local law enforcement. That's where you contact local law enforcement, schedule a time to meet an officer who will escort you to the residence so that you can obtain your essential belongings. Mr. Gibson, do you have any questions?
Yes, just a couple just for clarification. So regarding the charges, none of those are felonies, correct?
That's correct. These are just misdemeanors.
Okay. And regarding release, without bond, what is the release?
Well, so you have to pay the bond, $1,000, okay? And you can either pay it yourself or have a friend or family member pay it for you, or you can work with a bail bonding company. Once the bond's paid, you're usually released about 4 hours to 6 hours later.
Oh, so I'm here until I pay the bond.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Any other questions?
No.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gibson.
Thank you.
Robert Moreno and then Tabitha McKinney will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Robert Moreno,
Mr. Moreno. Mr. Moreno, you are here on a Superior Court probation violation warrant and also on a new case. In your new case, I find probable cause for the allegations of 1 count of possession, use of narcotic drugs, a Class 4 felony, 1 count of possession, use of drug paraphernalia, a Class 6 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference October 18th, 8:31 a.m., preliminary hearing October 22nd, 8:31 a.m. That'll be at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. In this case, Mr. Moreno, I'm setting just a $50 placeholder bond. You have a $500 bond in your probation matter. So your total bond is $550. It is secured appearance. You can pay that directly or work with a bail bonding company. It's less than $1,000. Some may not work with that number. I believe that there are some that will, but I don't know what their terms would be. If you pay your bonds, you will be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You're also promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you are not to possess any weapons. You're not to possess or consume any alcohol. You must submit to fingerprinting at the arresting police department and contact your probation officer within 24 hours of release. Then, Mr. Moreno, regarding your Superior Court probation violation warrant, this is for alleged violations of terms 3, 4, and 5. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a probation hearing October 21st, 8:30 a.m., again, downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Bonds the amount of $500 with the same conditions and restrictions of release. Mr. Moreno, do you have any questions?
no.
All right. Thank you, sir. Good luck to you. Tabitha McKinney and then Daryl Nedrow will be on deck. Good afternoon, ma'am. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Tabitha McKinney.
Thank you, Ms. McKinney. Ms. McKinney, you are here on a Superior Court probation violation warrant for alleged violations of terms 3 and 5. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a probation hearing October 21st, 8:30 a.m. at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. I am affirming bond. It's just in the amount of $50. It is secured appearance. Technically, you could work with a bail bonding company. However, the amount's so low, I'm fairly confident that no companies will work with that number. I may be mistaken. At any rate, if you pay your bond, you'll be released. You're then promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You're also promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to possess any weapons. You're not to possess or consume any alcohol. You must submit to fingerprinting at the arresting police department and contact your probation officer within 72 hours of release. Ms. McKinney, do you have any questions?
No.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Good luck to you. Daryl Nedrow and then Jayon Denson will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
Daryl Allen Nedrow.
Thank you, Mr. Nedrow. Mr. Nedrow, you are here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegations of 1 count of possession and use of narcotic drugs, a Class 4 felony, 1 count of possession and use of drug paraphernalia, a Class 6 felony. I've appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference October 28th, 8:31 a.m., preliminary hearing October 31st, 8:31 a.m. That will be at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Nedrow, I'm going to release you on supervised release. So you will be leaving here in approximately 4 hours to 6 hours from now. Because you're being released, you're promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You're promising to comply with supervision and with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. In addition, you're not to possess any weapons, and you must submit to fingerprinting at the arresting police department within 5 days of today's date.
Okay.
Mr. Nedrow, do you have any questions?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Nedrow. Good luck to you. Jayon Denson and then Nicholas Gonzalez will be on deck. Good afternoon, sir. Could you please state your name and provide your date of birth?
John Denson, 0.
Thank you, Mr. Denson. Mr. Denson, you're here on a Superior Court new case. I find probable cause for the allegation. One count of aggravated assault, adult on minor. It's a Class 2 felony. I have appointed you an attorney. You have a status conference October 28th, 8:31 a.m. Preliminary hearing October 31st, 8:31 a.m. That's at the downtown Phoenix Superior Courthouse. Mr. Denson, I did review the victim statement. I've taken that into consideration. It is a very serious charge, but at this point, I do think that supervised release is appropriate. So you are going to leave here in approximately 4 hours to 6 hours from now. Because you're being released, you are promising to go to court on all of your court dates. You're promising to comply with supervision, and you're promising to comply with the standard conditions and restrictions of release. I have some additional ones. Anytime there's any sort of a domestic violence case, these are standard. These can be modified in the future. So it sounds like your sister certainly wants reconciliation, but for now, these have to be in place. Another judge can modify them, though. So you're not to return to the scene of the alleged crime. You're not to initiate contact with any alleged victims, complainants, or witnesses, or have any physical contact with any alleged victims. You're not to possess any weapons. You must find an alternative residence, provide proof of the same to the court, and you must obey the terms of any order of protection or injunction against harassment that has been issued or which may be issued. You also must submit to DNA testing at the arresting police department within 5 days of today's date. You may have no contact with the alleged victim for any reason, even if she contacts you first, and you may not reside at the same location as an alleged victim, even if you are an owner or renter of the residence. You are entitled to one civil standby. That's where you contact local law enforcement, and an officer will escort you to the residence so that you can obtain your essential belongings. Mr. Denson, do you have any questions?
Yes. So I'm not allowed to, see my sister, or how does that
Correct. At this time, you cannot see your sister. Again, another judge can change these. It seems to me that things just got out of hand, but nevertheless, I have to still review this. There has to be a cooling off period. Like I said, this is standard anytime there's any sort of an incident.
And then how am I supposed to get home? I don't live here. I live in Texas.
You live in Texas.
We were on our way home from a road trip.
Okay. So if I let you return to Texas, will you come back for your court date on the 28th?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, so I am ordering that you may travel outside of Arizona to Texas. You just need to return by October 28th, 2024. Mr. Denson, just that you're aware, the prosecutor's office still has to decide whether they're going to bring charges. If they do not bring charges, then this case goes away. My release conditions go away. So they have to bring charges within 48 hours, okay? If for this case that we're seeing on right now and your court dates to go forward, they need to bring charges within 48 hours. If they don't bring charges within 48 hours, they still can bring charges at a later date, and that may happen. But I'm just letting you know, in terms of the conditions and restrictions I've put in place, if they don't file those charges, these will go away, okay? So check with the court. I don't know that they're going to know in exactly 48 hours if they'll have that information yet, but check in 3 and 4 days, see if this case is going forward. There will be a phone number on the paperwork. Yes, you have another question.
So, my bad.
It's okay.
So the prosecutor would be my mom or my sister?
No. Your sister would be the alleged victim in the case.
I don't understand.
The prosecutor's office, that's a governmental agency. The prosecutors are the attorneys that are the ones who file the charges.
Okay.
And then, are prosecuting the case.
And how will I hear about what they decide to do, or?
So you may be contacted by them. You also, though, what I'm saying is you may want to reach out, and there will be a phone number in the paperwork to reach out to.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Denson, any other questions?
No, sir.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Denson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.